Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 7. June 23rd, 1922. How the Truths Are More Than Sun. I was thinking to myself, Jesus says many things about his most holy will, but it seems that he is not understood, and even by the confessors themselves. They seem doubtful, and before a light so immense, they remain neither illuminated nor drawn to love a will so lovable. Now, while I was thinking of this, my always lovable Jesus, throwing his arm around my neck, told me, "My daughter, do not be surprised at this. Those who are not completely empty of their own will cannot have a sure knowledge of mine, because the human will forms the cloud between mine and theirs, and hinders the knowledge of the value and effects that mine contains. But in spite of this, they cannot say that it is not light. See, also the things that can be seen down here are not comprehended by man. Who can ever tell what I did in creating the sun, or how much light and heat it contains? Yet they see it. They enjoy its effects. It is with them all day. Its heat and light follow them everywhere. And with all this, they neither know nor can they tell its height, or the light and the heat it possesses. And if anyone wanted to rise up in order to know this, the light would eclipse him, the heat would burn him. So man is forced to keep his eyes low and enjoy the light without being able to investigate it, contenting himself with saying, 'It is sun.' So if this happens with the sun, which can be seen, and which I created for the natural good of man, more so with the truths that contain, oh, how much more light and heat than the sun itself, especially then the truths that regard my will, that contain eternal effects, goods, and value. Who can ever measure all that it contains? It would be as though wanting to eclipse oneself. It would be better to lower one's forehead and enjoy the light that my truth brings, loving it and making that little light that the human intelligence comprehends one's own, rather than putting it aside as something that does not belong to them, because they do not comprehend all the fullness of the light. So with the sun, although they do not comprehend it, they enjoy its light as much as they can. They make use of it in order to operate, to walk, to look. And oh, how they long for daylight, so that the light may keep them company and live with them. But then, my truths, that are more than light, and make the sun of the day rise in the human minds, are neither regarded, nor loved, nor longed for, and are held as a trifle. What sorrow! However, when I see that they put my truths aside, I put them aside, and I let my truths do their course with the souls who love them and long for them, and make use of their light in order to model their lives and become one with them. Do you think I have told you everything about the truths, about the effects, and the value that my truth contains? Oh, how many more suns do I have to make rise? And do not be surprised if you do not comprehend everything. Be content with living of its light, and this is enough for me. June 26, 1922. Isolation and loneliness of Jesus in the midst of creatures. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus came, and since I had been all contracted for a few days, so much so that I felt impotent to motion, Taking my hands in his, he told me, "My daughter, let me loosen you myself." And placing himself close to me, he put my arms on his shoulders, telling me, "Now you are loosened. Clasp me to yourself, for I have come to keep you company and receive yours in exchange. See, I am the God isolated by creatures. I live in their midst. I am life of each one of their acts, and they keep me as if I did not exist with them. Oh, how I cry over my loneliness. I have had the same lot as the sun. While it lives with its light and heat in the midst of all, and there is no fecundity that does not come from it, and with its heat it purifies the earth of so much filth, and its goods are incalculable, that with magnanimity it makes descend upon all. Yet it lives up high always alone, and man, ungrateful, never sends a thank you to it, an attestation of gratitude. So I am, alone, always alone. While being in their midst, I am light of each thought, sound of each word, motion of each work, step of each foot, beat of each heart. And man, ungrateful, leaves me alone. He says not a thank you to me, not one I love you. I remain isolated in the intelligence, because the light that I give them, they use for themselves, and maybe even to offend me. In the words, because many times the sound that they form serves to blaspheme me. I remain isolated in the works that they use in order to kill me, in the steps, in the heart, that are intent only on disobeying me and loving what does not belong to me. Oh, how this loneliness weighs on me. But my love, my magnanimity, is so great that more than sun, I continue my course. And in my course I keep investigating whether anyone wants to keep me company in so much loneliness. And as I find one, I form my perennial company in him, and I lavish all my graces upon him. This is why I have come to you. I was tired of so much loneliness. Never leave me alone, my daughter. July 6, 1922. Blessing that Jesus gave to his Mama before his Passion. The one who lives in the divine will is the depository of the sacramental life of Jesus. I was thinking and accompanying Jesus in the hour of the Passion, when he went to his divine Mama to ask for her holy blessing. And my most sweet Jesus in my interior told me, "My daughter, before my Passion, I wanted to bless my Mama and be blessed by her. But it was not only my Mama that I blessed, but all creatures, and not only those which are animate, but also the inanimate. I saw the creatures weak, covered with wounds, poor. My heart had a throb of sorrow and of tender compassion, and I said, 'Poor humanity, how decayed you are! I want to bless you, so that you may rise again from your decay. May my blessing impress in you the triple seal of the power, the wisdom, and the love of the three divine persons, and may it restore your strength, heal you, and enrich you. And in order to surround you with defense, I bless all things created by me, that you may receive them all blessed by me. I bless for you the light, the air, the water, the fire, the food, so that you may remain as though submerged and covered by my blessings. And since you did not deserve it, I wanted to bless my mamma, using her as channel in order to make my blessings reach you. And just as my mamma requited me with her blessings, so do I want creatures to requite me with their blessings. But alas, instead of a requital of blessings, they requite me with offenses and maledictions. Therefore, my daughter, enter into my will, and rising upon the wings of all created things, seal all of them with the blessings that all should give me, and bring the blessings of all to my sorrowful and tender heart. Then, after I did this, as though to repay me, he said, "My beloved daughter, I bless you in a special way. I bless your heart, your mind, your motion, your word, your breath. I bless all of you and everything in you." Then after this, I followed the other hours of the Passion, and while I was following the Eucharistic supper, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior, and with the tip of his finger, he knocked strongly within my interior, so much so that I heard him with my ears. And I said to myself, "What could Jesus want that he is knocking?" And he, calling me, told me, "It was not enough to knock so as to be heard, but also to call you so as to be listened to. Listen, my daughter. While I instituted the Eucharistic supper, I called everyone around me. I looked at all generations, from the first to the last man, in order to give my sacramental life to all, and not once, but as many times for as many as he needs corporal food. I wanted to constitute myself food for the soul, but I was very troubled at seeing that this, my sacramental life, would be surrounded by scorns, by neglects, and even by ruthless death. I felt ill. I experienced all the grips of the death of my sacramental life, so harrowing and repeated. I looked more closely. I made use of the power of my will, and I called around me the souls who would live in my will. Oh, how happy I felt! I felt surrounded by these souls, whom the power of my will kept as though submerged, and who had my will as center of their life. I saw my immensity in them, and I found myself well defended from all, and to them I entrusted my sacramental life. I deposited it in them, so that they would not only take care of it, but requite me for each consecrated host with one life of theirs. And this happens naturally, because my sacramental life is animated by my eternal will, and the life of these souls has my will as center of life. Therefore, when my sacramental life is formed, my volition, acting in me, acts in them, and I feel their life in my sacramental life. They multiply with me in each host, and I feel I am given life for life. Oh, how I exulted in seeing you as the first one, you, whom I called in a special way to form your life in my will. I made in you the first deposit of all my sacramental lives. I entrusted you to the power and to the immensity of the supreme volition, that they might render you capable of receiving this deposit. And from that time, you were present to me, and I constituted you depository of my sacramental life, and in you all the other souls who would live in my will. I gave you primacy over everything, and with reason, because my will is not subject to anyone, and even over the apostles and the priests. In fact, if they consecrate me, they do not, however, remain as life together with me. On the contrary, they leave me alone and forgotten, not caring about me, while these souls would be life within my own life, inseparable from me. This is why I love you so much. It is my own will that I love in you. July 10th, 1922. The living in the divine will is to repeat the real life of Jesus, not only in the soul, but also in the body. Continuing in my usual state, I felt my always lovable Jesus in my interior, but so real that now I would feel him squeeze my heart so tightly as to make me suffer. Now he would clasp his arms around my neck to the point of suffocating me. Now he would sit on my heart, assuming an air of empire and command, and I would feel myself being as though annihilated, and then rising again to new life under his command. But who can say what he did in my interior, and what I felt? I believe it is better to pass over it in silence. Then, while I was feeling his real presence in my interior, he told me, "My daughter, rise, rise more, but so high as to reach the womb of the divinity. Your life shall be among the divine persons. See, in order to make you reach this point, I formed my life in you. I enclosed my eternal volition in whatever you do, and there it flows in a marvelous and surprising way, and my volition is acting in you in continuous, immediate act. Now, after I have formed my life in you, with my will acting in you, in your acts, your will has remained soaked, transfused, in such a way that my will possesses a life upon earth. Now it is necessary that you rise and carry with you my life, my will, so that my volition of the earth and that of heaven may fuse together, and you may live life for some time in the womb of the divinity, where your volition shall be acting in mine, so as to be able to expand it as much as a creature can be capable of. Then you shall descend again upon the earth, bringing the power and the prodigies of my will, in such a way that creatures shall be shaken. They shall open their eyes, and many shall know what it means to live in my will, to live in the likeness of their Creator. This shall be the beginning of the coming of my kingdom upon earth, and of the final fulfillment of my will. Do you think that the living in my will is something trivial? There is nothing that equals it, nor sanctity that matches it. It is the real life, not a fantastic one, as some may imagine. And this life of mine is not only in the soul, but also in the body. But do you know how this, my life, is formed? My eternal will is that of the soul, and my heartbeat, palpitating in her heart, forms my conception. Her love, her pains, and all her acts done in my will, form my humanity, and make me grow so much that I cannot remain hidden, nor can she help feeling me. Don't you feel me, alive, in your interior. This is why I told you that the sanctity of living in my will cannot be matched by anything else. All other sanctities shall be like little lights, while this shall be the great sun transfused in its creator. Now, in order to obey, and with great repugnance, I shall say how I feel my Jesus in my interior. I feel him at the place of my heart, almost in a visible way. Now I hear him praying, and many times I hear him with the ears of my body, and I pray together with him. Now suffering, and he makes me hear his interrupted and labored breath, and I feel it in my breath, so much so that I am forced to pant together with him. And since all creatures are contained in him, I feel his breath diffusing as life in all the human motions and breaths, and I diffuse myself together with him. Now I hear him moaning, agonizing. Now I feel him move his arms and stretch them within mine. Now sleeping, leaving deep silence in my interior. But who can say everything? Jesus alone can say what he operates in me, for I do not have sufficient words to manifest it. I did this only to obey, with highest torment for my soul, and for fear that my Jesus might be displeased, because he tolerates me as long as obedience does not command me. But if obedience commands, only the Fiat is left to me. Otherwise he would annihilate me. I hope that everything be for his glory and to my confusion. July 14th, 1922. How God is naturally inclined to generate beings similar to himself. Luisa, generatrix of the kingdom of the divine will in others. As I was in my usual state, my sweet Jesus carried me outside of myself, up into the womb of the Eternal One. But while I was swimming in that womb, and I am unable to say what I felt and comprehended, because I lack the words to express myself, my always lovable Jesus told me, "Beloved daughter of our will, I have brought you into the womb of our divinity, so that your will may extend more within ours, and may take part in our way of acting. Our divinity is naturally inclined to generation. It does nothing other than generate continuously, and all things created by us carry with them the virtue of generating. The sun generates light in each human eye, in each work and step. It seems that it multiplies for each man, for each plant, and for each point of the earth. If it did not have this virtue, this connection with its creator and generator, by no means could the sun give light to all and be at everyone's disposal. The flower generates another flower, fully similar to itself. The seed generates another seed. Man generates another man. So, all things carry with them the virtue of their creator, of generating. We are so very naturally inclined to generate and to reproduce from ourselves beings similar to ourselves. This is why I have called you into our womb, so that as you live with us, your will, diffusing within ours, may expand and generate sanctity, light, love, together with us. And multiplying in everyone together with us, it may generate in others what it has received from us. This is our only will left to us with regard to creation, that our will act in the creature as it acts in us. Our love wants to unleash our will from our womb in order to deposit it in the creature, but it keeps looking for the one who is disposed, who would recognize it and appreciate it, so that it may generate in her what it generates in us. This is the reason for so many graces, so many manifestations about my will. It is the sanctity of my will that demands it, that before being placed in the soul, it be known, loved, and revered, that it be able to carry out in her all its virtue and power, and be surrounded by the cortege of our own graces. So everything I do to you is nothing other than equipping and adorning the dwelling for my will. Therefore be attentive. Here in our womb you shall learn our ways better, and you shall receive all the prerogatives that befit the designs we have formed upon you. July 16th, 1922. In order to reign, the sanctity of living in the divine will must be known. Since the confessor had told me that I had to let copying be done from my writings of what blessed Jesus has made me write on the different virtues, I felt a pain in me, a martyrdom, in letting what Jesus had told me come out. So as blessed Jesus came, I said to him, "My love, only for me these martyrdoms, that I myself should be the instrument for putting out what you have manifested to me. More so, since in having to put out what you have told me, I am forced in certain things to put out myself also. My Jesus, what martyrdom! Yet, though with highest torment for my soul, I am forced to obey. Give me strength. Help me. Only for me, this. You have said so many things to others. You have given them many graces, and no one has known anything. And if something has become known after their death, the rest remained all buried with them. Only for me the lot of this martyrdom." And Jesus, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, courage, do not lose heart too much. I shall be with you also in this. In the face of my will, yours must disappear. And besides, it is the sanctity of my will that wants to be known. Here is the reason. The sanctity of living in my will has no path, nor doors, nor keys, nor rooms. It invades everything. It is like the air that one breathes. Everyone must and can breathe it. If they but want it, and put the human will aside, the divine will shall make itself be breathed by the soul, and shall give her the life, the effects, the value of the life of my volition. And if it is not known, how shall they be able to love and want a living so holy, and the greatest glory that the creature can give me? The sanctity of the other virtues is known enough in the whole church, and whoever wants it can copy it. And this is why I was not concerned with multiplying that same knowledge. But the sanctity of living in my will, the effects, the value it contains, the final brush-stroke that my creative hand shall give to the creature in order to render her similar to me, is not yet known. This is the reason for all my urging. that what I have told you be manifested. And if you did not do so, you would as though constrain my will, imprison the flames that devour me within me, and make me delay the complete glory that creation owes me. However, I want things to come out as orderly, because one missing word, one broken nexus, connection, or sentence, instead of shedding light, would cast darkness about me, and instead of making creatures give me glory and love, would make them remain indifferent. Therefore be attentive. I want what I have said to come out whole. But in order to put your part as whole, I am forced to put part of mine. And Jesus. And what do you mean by this? If we have made the way united, do you want me to come out into the field alone? And besides, whom should I point out and set as example to be imitated, if the one whom I instructed, and who has the practice of the way how to live in my will, does not want to be known? My daughter, this is absurd. Ah, Jesus, into what a maze you cast me! I feel I am dying. I hope that your fiat shall give me the strength. Therefore remove your will, and my fiat shall do everything. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 7. Fiat.